Parliament Radio 105.5 FM, our viewers on the Parliament channel, and those of you joining us via the World Wide Web on Parliament's YouTube channel, ParlView. We welcome you this morning to this media press conference, which is part of the 11th Commonwealth Youth Parliament, which has been taking place since Monday. The debate is expected to conclude this afternoon, and several of our youth parliamentarians are here to face questions from members of the media, as is usually the custom during this event. So I'll just introduce the panel. Mr. Patum Ranasinghe Adachige, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, who is the leader of the House from Sri Lanka. Mr. Deshaun Cook, who is the Youth Parliament Prime Minister, who's from Jamaica. Ms. Janelle Gordon, leader of the opposition from Jamaica as well, and Mr. Christian Martinazzo, who is the Chief Whip, who is from Australia. We had a comment earlier this morning that you'll never see Prime Minister and leader of the opposition together in the same room. Not so. It is so this morning. So without further ado, I hand the floor over to members of the media who would have been viewing the proceedings. Feel free to ask any of our panel questions about their experiences thus far and about the Youth Parliament. I hand over to you.
Good morning, and welcome to Trinidad. So my first question is, hope you're having a good experience at Youth Parliament, but what was the biggest challenge that you faced so far in the experience?
Okay, I'm Patum Ranasinghe from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is one of a Commonwealth member country. I'm a citizen of that country. First of all, I want to apologize from you because I am not native English speaker, so make some mistakes from me. So this is a good opportunity for youth people. We know Commonwealth as organization, Commonwealth has implemented many projects for youth empowerment. So from this youth parliament project, we can empower youth for our future, and in the current situation of the world, we can observe that without political knowledge, without political experiences, countries are suffering from lack of youth leaders. So with this kind of projects, we can improve youth leaderships, and we can improve youth skills. So this is actually this is a very big challenge for me. This is my first time in a foreign country with this kind of program. So, but I think my colleagues, they always help me to win, to defeat these challenges. So I think this is a good opportunity, and I want to invite my all international youth colleagues to attend this kind of forums and projects. It will be a good opportunity for them. Thank you.
All right, greetings everyone. I would say the greatest challenge for me would have been initially that we have persons from different regions across the world. And because this bill is more so in a specific context, it's the Republic of Caribbean and Shakonia, it is more of a Caribbean context. So the challenge was that we had to get persons from different regions to understand what the Caribbean concept was or what it is. And then we moved forward to see how is it that we could table the bill and to see the suggestions. So the challenge for me was just seeing how best is it that everybody could get an understanding of the Caribbean context, given that they were not accustomed to it initially. But then what makes a good speaker, makes a better person than being open to understanding different cultures and the different challenges that come with that.
All right, thank you for that question. So actually, from my experience here, it has been such a great experience, learning about parliamentary procedures, the standing orders, getting more acquainted with other languages as well, and understanding their point of view on issues or their way of doing things in their host country has been such a great experience. And as it relates to challenges, so the challenges that I face is actually that because there's a melting pot of persons or cultures right now, there was initially a language barrier that we had to overcome. And then understanding other person's point of view, as I said before, on cultures as well as cultures inside of the parliament and parliamentary procedures. So that was the challenge that I faced, but we've overcome it over time.
Likewise, I do thank you for the question. Admittedly, my own personal issue has always been public speaking is something I've always struggled to undertake, and I found that the collegial nature of the youth parliament has been very helpful in making me more open and more willing to present in parliament. The same collegial nature as the Prime Minister was discussing is what allowed us to branch cultural barriers and bridge the cultural barriers in understanding the different parliaments and how different systems work in the Caribbean, back home in Australia, and being able to understand that and have that explained and not feeling like any question is a silly question has been very helpful throughout this experience.
Okay, morning. Niana Maharaj from Guardian Media. Coming out of the debate, it was a very passionate debate, very lively. You all did so well. How do you think your performance was? Do you think you'll win the award? Well, any one of you, do you think you'll win the award? And what can you say about your future in politics? How has this experience helped you think about your future in politics?
Okay. Currently, I am working as the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka National Youth Parliament. So, but in Sri Lankan context, we never practiced this kind of debate on a bill, on a specific bill. So this is a very different experience for me. So I think this experience has impressed me, has impressed my abilities. So I think in the future, sometimes I won't be able to be a politician, professional politician or a parliamentarian, but I think I can do something for my community. I can do something for future of my country. So this experience is a very good opportunity to think again about my career in the political arena. Thank you.
All right. As for me, the experience has been awesome. I think my voice is testament to that. We're absolutely passionate young people. We ensure that what it is that we want to say is exactly what is said, and the persons in the room get that idea when we speak. So as for me, I don't think it's about winning, as I would have said earlier yesterday in the Prime Minister's questions. It's not about winning, it's about ensuring that the persons that we're going to be passing this bill for will be benefiting from the decisions that we make. In terms of my future in politics, I think that's a question that I may not be in the best position to answer right now. However, I believe my philosophy is the furtherance of life through philanthropy and education. And I've been putting myself forward in many different positions to see how best is it that I can help to develop other persons, serving in the youth parliament back home, serving in even other capacities as, for example, Vice President of the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students, and currently pursuing my master's in international public and development management. It gives me a broad scope, so politics is definitely something that is within arm's reach, I would say, but it's not a definite yes or no at this point.
All right, as for me, it's not about winning, as Prime Minister have just said. It's actually about coming to a conclusion whether the bill can be passed without amendments or whether the bill needs amendments for the benefit of all our citizens. So it's not really about whether who has the best debating style or the best speech. It's bringing across the issues and realizing that whether the bill is perfect as it stands or the Prime Minister and his government need some accountability or some transparency in the bill. So as it relates to politics now, I recently concluded my tenure as the Youth Prime Minister in Jamaica. So politics, I've grown up in politics all my life. So it's something that I think is destined for me. But as for now, I'm more focusing on like my pharmacy school and so on. So it's not something that I see myself doing, but definitely after probably the next 5 years, you'll see me in politics.
I think in terms of performance, I think it's important to review performance in terms of the rest of the opposition. None of us, everyone's the best speaker on the opposition. You can only look at how we work as a team, and I think behind our opposition leader, we've been a very united team. We've presented a very united front, and we've done our job to keep the government on their toes. With regards to a future in politics for myself, unfortunately, in Australia there is a cheeky little provision called Section 44, which means dual nationals can't run for Parliament. However, I don't think that is a barrier. I think young people deserve a voice in politics. However, also I think we need to develop ourselves and try spend time in our community or in the business community or outside of the public sector, pretty much getting that real-world experience. So when we do run for politics or when we do seek to represent our community, we do so with the real-world experience to govern effectively and govern in a way that's beneficial for everyone.
Okay, thank you. I have one more question about yesterday when your colleague, Ms. Moala, got emotional about climate change. I appreciate that you were able to step back and let her breathe and then come back and finish her point. What was that experience like for you yesterday?
For me, again, it speaks to the passion for people. And if there's nothing else that we got from the presentation, it's what we've been talking about after, and it's about her telling us to go brave. Youth have a voice. We have to use our voice. Oftentimes, we ask to sit at the table when it comes on to you actually being at the table. All you do is we speak about the issues instead of using our youthful exuberance to talk about and proposing solutions. So what this has taught us is that we have to ensure that we understand the realities that other states are facing, other jurisdictions are facing. While that might not be our reality in Jamaica, might not be the reality in Sri Lanka, Trinidad, or Australia, we have to ensure that we are cognizant of the fact that there are people out there who have real-life crises that we might not be going through, and we have to learn to see things through other people's eyes. And that is one thing I got to appreciate even more after the member got emotional yesterday.
So it was quite an emotional experience for me, because seeing someone speak so passionately about their country and the realities that they're facing, it brought me back to home, where also there are many youth leaders in my country who are that passionate about issues such as youth unemployment, crime and violence. So it's something that I can relate to, and seeing her break down show me that youth are not really in this just because they want a seat at the table, but it's because they really have a passion for what they're doing, and they're in touch with the realities and the crisis that is going on in the world and want to be the change.
I think for myself personally, I do echo the sentiment that it was quite emotional, even more so because Tonga is widely considered part of Australia's Pacific Island community. So to see members of what we consider our family have that reaction was very, very powerful. And I think the theatrics that usually happen in politics and in youth parliament. I think when you actually look down to the core, it is an opportunity for us as youth parliamentarians to actually voice an issue that's very personal to us. And Member Moala did a fantastic job representing her country for it, and I think it's an opportunity for members of small island developing states to continue that advocacy for their states in whatever medium is available to them.
She openly delivered her ideas, and I think every nation throughout the world, every nation has been facing many issues: terrorism, narcotics, that kind of big issues. So as a one community, as a one youth wing, we will be able to defeat those kind of challenges. This is a good platform to create new relationship and new bond, strong bond with every nations and every youth communities. So we will stand with her, and everyone in the future we deal with our activities and our progressive movements and ideologies.
Two questions. One, it was actually mentioned at the beginning of the press conference where you have you who are serving the position of Prime Minister in Youth Parliament and you as leader of opposition in Youth Parliament. That's not what we normally see in the real Parliament. Would you like to see that as something happening more in the context of the parliaments of the nations that you come from, in the nations of the Commonwealth, leaders of the opposition and the government working together and actually sitting side by side together when it's maybe necessary to deal with issues of national importance?
Most definitely. As I would have said before, it's all about collaboration. You have to put your selfish desires aside when you enter certain offices. When you're a prime minister, when you're an opposition leader, it's not just about being prime minister. You have to remember that the opposition also serves a purpose. As she is rightfully said, it's about holding the government accountable and to ensure that the needs of the citizens are what you put first, and they are at the heart of all the policies that you put forward. I would really love to see prime ministers and opposition members, and not just them, but their entire cabinet, sharing spaces, but not just for public ops, but to ensure that they are also working together for the betterment of the citizens that they serve.
So I too would like to see the Prime Minister and the opposition of a country sitting together at the head of the Commonwealth or even in other jurisdictions. It shows that the government and the opposition is able to put service above self and to show that we are here for the common good. We're here for the people, and even though we may have different views on things, it's coming to an agreement and recognizing that you will have different opinions, but the common ground should be serving the people. And as for Mr. Cook and I, we have shared a relationship where we have fostered collaboration over the years. We have ensured that we work together for the people, and we put aside any differences or anything. Despite we are from the same country, we here in the Commonwealth Youth Parliament, we're serving the citizens of Kairi and Shakonia. We have to remember that these persons are at the heart of what we do. We remember our why and who we are serving. So essentially, it's important for the government and the opposition to have a good working relationship.
And my other question, given your participation in this youth parliament and being part of the process at the level that you have been participating in, do you think that the voice of youth needs to be more reflected in the political process, in the parliamentary process, via those who are the representatives in parliaments, listening more to the concerns of youth and representing those concerns?
All right. My point of view is that while it is good to ensure that persons who have been there, they've been there and they've done it before, experience is, I would say is important. But what is also important is adapting to the times that we're moving in. For far too long, we have seen where parliamentarians, they're using the same styles over and over again. They are losing youth participation. People are not turning out to the polls. I can speak to my country, for example. The last election, we had a 38% voter turnout. And what we realized is that the youth were not participating because there was nothing that was being done that youth can look to and say, well, wait, that person emulates what I believe in. This is what I want to see happening in a country. I would have said before that it's one thing to have youth at the table. It's another thing to use them as some form of tokenism. And it's another thing to actually listen to the youth. And that is what I would love to see. Not just having a table, not providing a table, but ensuring that once they are around that table, you listen to the perspectives that they bring and you use the experience that you have garnered from your years of service to see how best is it that you can put those two together and have a phenomenal parliamentary system or a phenomenal government.
So I believe that over the years, we have talked about the future without including the actual future. The future, we always say, is the youth. And so if we're not involving the youth in the decision making, then why are we speaking about the future? How are you able to adjust or to keep in touch with situations that the youths are going through? I think that youth participation is important in decision making because it also helps them to grow over time, and after a while the old parliamentarians will be gone, and it's up next for the next generation to step up to the plate and continue the legacy of the country or continue the legacy of a party. So for me, youth participation, even with the parliament system, I think youth parliament should move from just being a set of young people speaking on issues, but also being able to put bills into place. When the government is making decisions youth, they should involve the youth parliamentarians, and so that the decisions that the youth make are decisions that will help other youth.
Another important aspect of youth participation is that many political parties, I know back in Australia, have youth wings, called like young versions of their parties, where you join and you have a seat at the table and you actually have quite an important stake. And I think I'm not sure what the case is in the Caribbean or in other jurisdictions, but I know that has been very important for myself personally. I know for a lot of young people who do join the youth wing of my party, to have that seat at the table. We talk to the ministers, we talk to the people who make the big decisions, and that's also a forum for personal development. There's a strong focus on personal development programs, mentorship. I think if we're going to have tangible outcomes for youth who want to get involved in politics and want to have their voice heard, the first step is for the parties to understand that, not just talk about how their decision impacts on the future and the young people who inherit that future, but actually let us young people at their table, making the decisions, holding positions in the executive, having a key role in campaigns, and keeping it focused on the youth. One experience I've had is back in Australia, being able to work for different multiple politicians is at my age. I've got quite a good relationship with many different MPs, one of which that I used to work with every Thursday would go down and get kebabs together and we just talk about like local issues that were happening in the community. I think it's very important. I think if young people had that forum, the best forum for it is through youth wings of political parties focusing on the young people.
Okay, time is a little against us, and I do know that your two colleagues also were to present themselves. So if we could just do a little bit of musical chairs and have your two colleagues replaced too. Prime Minister and Leader of the Opposition, I guess you can stay. Okay. Yes, okay, Secretary General will come as well. Okay. Right.
Hello, Sheila Ramprasad here, independent journalist. And we hear a lot of idealism and optimism, but adult parliamentarians now were youth at one point, and they carried that same fire. And then generation after generation, they seem to lose it. What guarantee is there that you will not become just like them, grabbing your Mercedes-Benz and whatnot, and you're fattening your pockets and not worrying at all? When you're young, you talk about the public interest, and then when you get older, you serve your self-interest. What guarantee is there that you will not go that same route?
Hi, good morning. I think that's a lovely question because I'll add to what the Prime Minister was saying earlier as far as passion is concerned. I think we need to add to passion a sense of conviction. And conviction, I think the best, at least sometimes conviction comes from proximity to the right kinds of issues that are affecting our community. And I think what happens is that when leaders, as you say, do assimilate into these roles that gives them a different lifestyle than they're accustomed to or that they grew up having, it takes them away sometimes from the communities that they're meant to be serving and the people that they're meant to be serving. And I think if they can find ways to stay ingrained in grassroots programs with people in their community, finding out their stories and keeping near to the issues that affect people, I think it keeps them grounded and it keeps them connected to the things that actually matter, so that when they are speaking, when they are representing the communities and the people that they're serving, they're speaking from a place of conviction and a place of knowing within themselves that this is what is actually going on. And I think that is what keeps the fire lit inside a person and what keeps it pure.
Good morning, everyone. If you may permit me, I want to use an example. So on Twitter this morning, I read a statement from somebody saying she wanted to be a teacher, and everybody would tell her no. So my response to her was passion and drive. Now the example is, a lot of teachers, when they go into the system, they're so excited and they're ecstatic about doing this job. This is so inspirational and they want to make their mark. And then when it comes down to the longer years, they start to get tired and weary, and you start to see them moving back into that place of being complacent. And I refer that back to the question. For me particularly, I would have to say it would definitely be that passion and drive, that love for my country, especially using the Turks and Caicos Islands. I went away to school, and for 3 years, everybody was telling me, why are you coming back? There's nothing there for you. And I had to always tell them, it has to be my love for my country. And to say that I want to go into politics with that mindset that, oh, 5 years down the line, I'll be driving a Benz and I wouldn't be really caring for the people who elected me, is to say that, why did I go into politics? Because if you don't have that passion, that drive for your job, it then becomes work. And when it becomes work, then you know you didn't go into this for the right reasons. So I would definitely have to say, like that word everybody is using, passion, drive, and the love for your country is what will propel you to remember that you were once where the people who elected you were. So you have to always remember that you came from where they are now, and you're using your voice to make it better for each and every one of your people.
For me, in terms of the guarantee that the same mindset that some of the current politicians have, will not share in the future, I'm thinking that it's integrity. And I think that integrity is one of the main tenets of anybody that's holding a public office. I am of the impression that I can reference what the opposition leader said earlier, and she said that you have to remember your why. Why is it that you would have gotten to this place? Why is it that you were interested in it in the first place? And once you can answer your why, then it will answer multiple other questions. It will give you direction as to where to go. We are youth right now, and I'm not telling you that things are going to remain the same when 20 years from now, 30 years from now, should I become a politician. And what I have to do is not play hypocrite in putting it in simple forms, because I am calling on politicians now to listen to youth. So why is it then that I would have the passion, the love for country, asking myself the why, answering that, and still not including youthful perspectives in going forward?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Stephen Twigg. I'm the Secretary-General of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, and just a couple of reflections on this question from me. Firstly, I think we've seen here this morning the passion and conviction of the young people participating in CYP, and we've seen it throughout the week, and I think most powerfully, as has already been said yesterday, with the participant from Tonga speaking about the impact of the climate crisis in Tonga. I was previously a British Member of Parliament. I became an MP at 30. I stood down at 53. And I think there is often a youthful idealism and passion. But actually, in my experience, there are also a lot of politicians that, at an older age, still have that enthusiasm and passion. And I think the answer to the question, yes, it does lie in the integrity of the individual, but it also lies in the vibrancy of civil society, of constituents, of the media. And if issues are being raised with members and answers asked of them, then I think it is perfectly possible to maintain that commitment even to a much older age.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. And I think that time has run out. So with those few words, I'd like to thank all of our panelists for participating in this news conference, including Secretary General. And with those few words, this has come to an end. For those of you who joined us on the Parliament channel, thank you very much for joining us, and do have a pleasant day.